I think go on, Paul.
So I'm just going to say, I know people. Hello, everybody. Those are here now. I'll just say that I like the fact that when you do subscribe to StreamYard, you can put your logo in the corner of it. It just makes it look really just adds that little bit of extra.
It
something.
does. The thing to do this one though, Paul. This is the StreamYard we're on. To go from Evening Shazia, to go from Facebook and YouTube at the same time, it's £20 a month you have to pay for this.
Yes.
But that's the one that you can add all your logos on and everything else. So it is quite looks more professional, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yolanda, Gillian, thank you for sharing already. Karen, hope everybody's well. Who's got some questions for Paul? Let's just get in there.
Absolutely, yeah, why not? It's kind of part 2, really, of where we were last time.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Gillian, my lovely lady. Susanna, Janice, Rebecca, hope everybody's well. Oh, dear.
How are we all?
Oh, dear. Are we all ready for Christmas?
I'm probably further ahead with shopping than I have been for a very long time, which is a good thing. Yeah.
Yes, I've got none. I haven't done any shopping just yet, have we? I think it's going to be left while December to get shopping done. Evening, David. Hope you're well. Patricia, my lovely. No, not ready.
It's me.
Ready for Christmas. Joanne, it's me.
You're right, Ben.
I think that is Ben. It's me there. Evening, Ben. Evening, everyone. Hope you're all well and staying safe. Lisa, hello. Sophie, Shirley. Oh, goodness. I'll be getting out of breath soon. So just while we're on, I'm just going to use sneaky peek at my tree. Look.
Oh, very nice.
Christmas trees up. John very kindly put my tree up. So
put my camera back on, right.
I remember there used to be a programme, and it'd be interesting to see in the comments those that remember it, a BBC comedy, I think it was BBC, and it was called Dear John. And the character, his Christmas trim was a balloon and a piece of holly stuck to the side of it, and that was as much as he decorated.
That'll be us next year, because John says he's not putting this up next year. Evening, Jules, Ben.
We get the mini ones about
that
big. You know the ones that you plug into your car cigarette lighter, them little ones.
I'm not having one of them. Oh. No, I want a big tree.
I like your tree, Lindsay. I like it.
Dad, I love this. This is one tree I absolutely love. And he said to me this year when he was putting it up, he went, next year you can have a smaller tree. I says, I'm not. He says, well, I'm not decorating this.
I've had to move up room around to get it in.
Oh, dear. So, thank you for sharing.
Have you seen on like films in future when they put the Christmas trees up like, and then they use a shrink ray and shrink them down to about that big?
Shrink it.
All still built up.
I tell you what, why don't we leave his tree up all year round?
No.
Mine's boxed in cupboard.
Best place for it, Shirley.
Just the naughty elves are out. They can't be naughty while 1st of December though, so they can't come on and do rude things while Paul's talking.
And they can't
they can't throw things at John.
Oh, they win a bonfire next year.
The naughty elves are there. So for those of you that joined us last week and the week before, we did start Paul. It's a good job. Paul's very professional, and when we disappeared off screen last week, Paul just continued talking and everything else.
We're hoping it's not going to happen this week, although our internet has gone off once today.
Internet's played up, yeah. Evening, Heather. Mine's in the attic. Mine's still up in the attic. Get 'em down. Start an early Christmas.
Oh.
I was thinking the same thing, John.
That line never worked.
Dear. My tree's still growing in the attic. Ben. Hey, Chelsea. So, any questions tonight? Because you've all had time to catch up with last week's Chit Chat, and we have had Paul on the show before on a Tuesday night Chit Chat show. So, as we all know, Paul is NLP, neuro linguistic programming. Woohoo!
Yeah,
Been
he's got
practicing
that
I've
one
been
sorted.
practicing all day. And also past life regression. So if anybody's got any questions or anything, please pop them in the chat. We will be chatting amongst about probably a load of other things as we're going, but please pop your questions in the chat, or if you've got a question for any of us, respectful, but pop it in the chat. So I hope everybody's had a good day. I can't get comfortable. I've been sat like this for an hour and a half. But yeah.
Ben, get it out of loft, dry it out, and sell it then.
Ben's tree smells funny in his loft. It's a naughty tree, Paul.
Right. Okay.
Oh, not
interesting.
Dear. It's one of them. If actors go across, they'll see it all being lit up. I'm only joking, but that's what he's pretending.
Yeah.
Cost him a fortune with electric bill.
Well done. Evening, Carol, my lovely. Susanna's had a great day. That's lovely. So I were going to ask you a question, Paul, and I've had it in my head all day. That's it. You know, like confidence. Do you know me? Not really. Don't touch. I know you don't touch it, Ben. I've been talking to a couple of ladies that have gone through kind of domestic abuse and things like that. You know, when it comes to confidence, and obviously they need to get over, not just women, because there's men out there as well.
Yes.
Can what you do give them like confidence back, not to help them forget, but to help them come to terms with things that have happened? Or is it, how would that work, Paul?
Absolutely. I mean, it depends also as well how much mental scarring is left from it. But, you know, it's something that I have dealt with and will deal with again. But I'm a therapist that, apart from a couple of times when it's necessary to go over the past, and so it's different when it's a past life because that was something that happened in another life, but I'm very much more future focused based. So I understand where the person is coming from. I'm not as brutal as the chap that you saw when you went to see that one, but it is very much like, you know, right, we'll make a plan together to move forward and where you want to see yourself being. I might have mentioned it last week. If you say broke your leg, you wouldn't keep throwing yourself down the same stairs you broke your leg to heal yourself. And I think talking things through are brilliant, but then for some people it's not enough. You have to then start thinking future and start doing something called future pacing, so you create a compelling future for yourself. There's so many things you can do with somebody for confidence, and as I've said before, I don't think, you know, this person wants to quit smoking, I'll do this technique. This person wishes to feel confident, I'll do this technique. But what you can do is you can because the mind and body affect each other, and when people have been through domestic abuse, which I can only begin to imagine how horrendous that must be, but because they've been given so much time and time again, sometimes it's physical abuse, sometimes it's verbal abuse, but you end up seeing when people have been through things like that, their body language starts to shrink in and shrink in and shrink in. So they're holding themselves very small. They're making themselves so they're not seen. They're not standing out, because I guess for a lot of people that have been through that abuse, standing out, anything like that could be a trigger. Maybe not all, but be a trigger for the abuse. So one of the ways to moving forward is to make sure that they stand tall, they lift their head tall, and research has found that if you change your body posture, you feel a lot more confident. And it's not just feeling confident. Scientists have taken swabs. They've noticed that the stress hormone cortisol goes down and testosterone raises. I also somebody who a lot of my work doesn't just go, well, that's what something that I take on face value. I like to test that these things work. And I know from when I used to go down to the gym more regularly, I did my personal trainer allowed me to have a bit of time to do an experiment, and it was something called slam ball, where the people would pick up a ball. It's quite heavy. I don't know if you've done it, or people who've done gym. You put it over your head like this, keep it, and you slam it down. It's quite a weight, and it's a workout for the arms and the way you pick up for the knees. You don't go and bend your back, as you know, that's a bad thing. But I got people originally, whilst they were doing this slam ball experiment, to 2 different groups. And first of all, I put them in what I would say is a submissive pose. So they made their body language much smaller. They crouched themselves. I didn't use the word "put yourself in a submissive pose" because, like when I say don't think of a pink elephant, you start thinking that way. But just to see if purely the body language, I said go down. I mean, people could tell it was a submissive pose. And I did that first. I can't remember the exact, I wrote it all down, the exact number that the group managed to do. But then I did it a second time round, not long after. Now I wanted to do the submissive pose first before doing a more dominant, expanding the body language, standing for hands on the hips, a little bit like Wonder Woman, Superman, and the best of all heroes, the Green Cross Code Man, you know, that the arms akimbo, they call it. And the second time round that they done it, when they should have been more tired after standing, and when you stand in this, it's being a Smith, it's 2 minutes they found out was the optimal time to be in to really kind of make the cortisol levels rise. When they then had, I just gave them 1 minute break, then they stood for 2 minutes in a more dominant pose. I just told them how to stand again in a dominant pose. The group then at the whole became 18% stronger and had better stamina doing this thing just purely the way that they held themselves beforehand. So people have, it's not just for strength, people have been given tasks where they've got to stand on the stage. And there's a fantastic TED talk by Amy Cuddy. So if anybody looks at YouTube videos and enjoys the TED Talks, that's one to look at. She's also written a wonderful book called Presence as well, where it goes into more detail. But the experiment which she did with people is to put them in a very stressful situation. They had to be on stage and had to be speaking to 5 minutes, the people that were done on their dream job, what they would absolutely love. To make it more stressful, the people were trained doing the marking to see if they would hire somebody, if they really were going for their dream job, or they wouldn't hire them, were trained to give no verbal signals away, which is worse than eyes rolling contempt, no nodding, just a plain Cyberman blank face looking at these people. And to make it even more stressful, they said, you know, it's going to be filmed and then we're going to show it to a group of another 100 people after you finish. So they tried to make anything as stressful as possible. Before going in, what they didn't know, they just split them 50-50, these groups of people. One group, just before they stood on the stage, they said, right, okay, just 2 minutes, and they got them to shrink their body in a very submissive pose. Again, they didn't say this is submissive pose, they just said put your body like this. Then they went on the stage. Another group of people, they were told to expand their body language. So legs, arms apart, hands on hips, Wonder Woman, superhero, Green Cross Code Man, etc. And
somebody said you're showing your age.
And the people that would be in the dominant pose, well, the people who were doing the marking said that there was something about these people in dominant pose which they would hire. It didn't mean they weren't nervous. It didn't mean that they weren't, showing a little bit of nerves and a bit of vibrato in the voice as it was shaking. But they held themselves. They kept themselves together rather than sort of flitting and completely losing it. So although it's a stressful time, if you change your body language and just for a couple of 2 minutes a day to stand more upright, a couple of times a day doing that will really raise the testosterone. But it's not just, and I make sure I talk to myself, and I'm pretty good at doing it, but again, like all of us, you slightly slip at times. So it's just constantly reminding yourself. It's not just doing 2 minutes. If you can remind yourself, this is the way I walk, if you go into the supermarket, this is the way I carry myself, this is the way I interact with others. It just adds on more presence and gravitas when you're speaking to somebody. And then when you're doing that, that's like one of the doors that you unlock. I understand what these people have been through. There's more doors to unlock than that, but that would be a really good foundation level to start getting people moving in the right direction. There's other tools, NLP anchoring, talking to yourself in positive ways, planning a compelling future, etc., that you can do, and classic hypnosis. So
I know we used to say when we did Slimming World, because obviously you got ladies coming in and gentlemen, and they'd be uncomfortable with how they looked, or they didn't have confidence to do things. And I mean, they used to laugh at me because you know what's coming. They used to laugh at me when I said it to them, but I said, what you need to do is every morning you wake up, you have to give yourself a compliment in the morning, and then before you go to bed at night, you give yourself 2. And somebody says, well, what compliments do you give yourself? I went, I'm a 10 out of 10. And everybody just started laughing, because it just like come out of my mouth. But that's not how I feel, but that's what sort of like proceeded out of my mouth in the middle. But I think it's true that if we think down on ourselves, you need, like you said, it's doing that. And with the hypnotherapy as well, you've just got that like constant connection, haven't you? So do you bring your fears with you when you are reborn?
It can happen. I'm not saying that every single past life regression every past life you take your fears forward, but often during the work that I've done with people, it answers a lot of clues, more those that want to go to discover something, the way they act and the way they feel.
Well, not a lot of times. Sometimes it can happen. Say somebody, I mean, this is just an example, saying somebody died in a plane crash in this life, in a previous life, they might have fear of heights or something in this life. Do you know what I mean? And
yes, absolutely. The other thing is what could happen. It goes back to what we were just talking about, domestic abuse. It might not have been this life, but it could have been in a past life, and it could be why somebody doesn't want to stand up, why they don't wish to speak their truth, because unfortunately, I don't know if it's Victorian times or going back before that, but a husband could beat their wife with a stick no thicker than the thumb. If they constantly got hit from speaking out, saying something, then in the next life they go to, they could be very much quiet because of what they experienced in their previous life there. So it can be,
Chloe, my lovely. Janice has said, if someone dies and becomes a spirit, some spirits seem to still be here years later. How does this fit with people being reborn to a new life?
Well, when I did a session with John's Sixth Sense, he had the thought and feeling that the soul can go 2 different ways. So you would split off and be reborn, and also the soul could continue as well. There's also that because the theory is that we've had lots and lots and lots of lives and hundreds of lives, and that a soul can stay around for a while, and maybe that hasn't passed on, but you can still tap into certain things in the past. There is that we maybe tap into the Akashic records, everything that ever has been, and also anything ever could be. You tap into that during the past life. And there's also people that say it can be genetic memory. There's also other people as well that say it can also be with past lives, a metaphor, which is playing itself in your mind in hypnosis to help you out in this life. I think when you delve into something like that, it's to be aware that it might not just be one is the same all the time. I think that sometimes it can definitely be past lives. Other times it could be genetic memories. It could be everything.
There's a lot of different things that it could be. I mean, I've read, and I mean, my theory is once you pass, you remember all your past lives as a spirit. You're aware of everything, and to come back, you sign what's called a soul agreement, or you have a soul agreement. So you've got a choice whether to come back or not. So some spirits might not want to come back yet. They might not be ready to come back. They come. It's It's just if and when.
And I believe that there are spirits which are ghosts, and this is my belief, and they're the spirit of the deceased person. But I also believe in stone tape as well. So like with the hypnosis, that in the past life, there's both there. You know, one's a trap spirit, the other one is a recording playing itself over and over again.
Yeah, I know Joanne's put a right big piece on, and if I put it on screen, it's going to take over. Since the last live with Paul, when he was talking about posture, etc., has been excellent because I have been a lot more aware of it, and I straighten up as soon as I find I am slouching, especially whilst driving and pushing the trolley in the supermarket. Having spinal stenosis is horrible, but I have found that being more posture aware has helped it to ease. So just by following little bits of what you're saying, Paul, it can make a big difference. It's such a big thing. I mean, and I'm not changing the subject. I think it's still not saying what we've just been saying. We've been talking about dreams and the meaning of dreams, and how I interpret dreams is our dreams are dealing with something in life that we can't see, can't deal with, or what. It's just the way of the mind, bringing things to like try and get rid of the stress or everything.
I'm going to say, ask Paul the question that you and Scotty run about.
What did Scotty ask?
Because Paul might know why some people can remember dreams and why some people never remember a dream.
Scotty, who's in our chat, Scotty doesn't dream.
No, he doesn't remember.
Or he doesn't remember dreaming.
Yeah.
Can people not dream at all? If
everybody dreams, it's if you remember it or not. I have heard that people that are either under stress or working incredibly hard can't remember their dreams as well. It also depends what time somebody wakes up as well. So if you wake up right in the middle of REM sleep, then people tend to remember it. If Scotty's waking up and there's been a certain amount of time passed after the sleep, the REM sleep, when you're having those dreams, that then people just don't remember it. But everybody will dream. But yeah, it'd be interesting to hear from Scotty. Obviously, if he's stressed about something, it might not be, you know.
Scotty's put, guess I'm just a hard worker. Do you think it also could go on an age thing as well, Paul? The older we get, the more stress we get in his life, the more we start dreaming. Whereas though when we're younger, you've got like your whole life ahead of you. So the stress levels, even though they've come in a bit, haven't come in to somebody at a young age as they would do somebody, say, early 20s, late 20s or something like that. I don't know,
because Scott is young, isn't he?
That's what I'm saying. Scott is young. So it's like, because Scott is not going to have the stresses. So
he should remember. The more stress you have, the less likely to remember.
Oh.
Well, it could be just, I don't know what Scotty does, but, you know, overwork maybe, just having the mind constant.
Is it college?
Yeah, so it's probably a lot of work that he's doing at the moment. Yeah. So, yeah.
Scotty, he never remembers his dreams because he's never awake long enough to remember them. He's too busy sleeping.
He does sleep. Let's stop picking on Scotty. Do you believe that if you meet a stranger which you instantly dislike, it's because they hurt you in their past life? Ooh.
It could be. You could also be using a bit of your sixth sense then and your gut emotions. And I think it's important that you go with your gut emotions. But also as well, sometimes it could be that it reminded you of something that consciously you may be not aware of, like a teacher that particularly maybe kept putting you down whilst you're at school. They might be speaking in a very similar way or have a similar sort of facial structure. If somebody does get a bad feeling of somebody, I wouldn't say don't interact with them, but I would say use that gut feeling and have that, be aware, you know, because I also do believe that, like I did some training recently. It wasn't about meeting somebody, and the lady is happy for the story to be told, and she usually tells it, but she's not here. I'll tell it now. Joy Wisdom, who does DARE, Dissolve and Resolve Emotions. Her husband was driving on the motorway and he suddenly just had this thought go through his head: pull into the motorway service station and get yourself a cup of coffee. He pulled into the service station, parked up, and then saying, thought, what am I doing? I don't need a coffee, and it's going to delay me. I'm going to get back home. So he got back on the motorway. When he was on the motorway, just ahead of him was a terrible pileup, which he was at the back of and got involved in. Now, if he hadn't have pulled into that motorway service station, he quite probably would have been at the front of where this pileup was happened and possibly even killed. However, he might have not had the injuries and had the discomfort later on that he had in life if he'd actually gone through and had the coffee, because what he would have probably done is pull off the motorway then into a traffic jam because of the pileup, but he would have been safe. So Joy always says, if you do get the overwhelming strong gut feeling, no matter how crazy it might sound, is to trust your guts.
Yeah, definitely. Shirley's put, if I'm stressing about something and I have some decisions I need to make, I found sometimes going to bed and waking up the next day with a solution, which I'm happy to go with. Weird, but it happens a lot. I think as well, when we do go to sleep, it's like,
I suppose if you've got something on your mind,
yeah, it can clear your mindset, can't it? Do you know?
You're less stressed after too much sleep. So
it can do if you just clear it. I mean, I didn't quite get. So, did she have like an answer or something? Because I know
she got a solution.
If she goes to bed at night, and if she's got like some decision to make, and she hasn't made that decision when she goes to bed, she'll wake up next morning and she seems to have already got the answer when she wakes up, and she's happy to go with that answer. You know, but
sounds like I should be doing some NLP modeling on herself. I know there's something in NLP called a core question, which is if you ask a question enough times, the subconscious mind takes it on as being important. So, for example, if you wanted to start your own business, let's say a pie shop, but just for anything, you'd be asking your subconscious, what's the best way of me starting and running this business? And if you just ask that and not really have to worry about the answer, then it's amazing how many times an answer will come to you.
Yeah. I think stress stops that a lot, though, doesn't it? Because his brain overthinks. And I think because you've got you might have 10 decisions you've got to make in your head.
Yeah.
And I think they all get mixed up, so you just can't make decisions properly. Do you think deja vu has any connection to the spiritual intuition? Oh, good one, Chelsea.
That is good. I mean, people say about, is it connected to past lives? As I said, probably in another interview of you, some people say it's a little miniature blackout where your brain just for a minimal split second just blacks out, and you're in the air and you suddenly think, oh, I've been here before, but you're just remembering what you've forgotten just a second ago. However, I think it would be a shame if I said that's all I believe it is. I think that, you know, I think it's a strong possibility it's to do with spiritual intuition. I also think it's a strong possibility that it could be to do with past lives. I think that, you know, is to be an explorer and keep away from the question.
That for me, it should be to do with past lives.
Well, they've said, haven't they, in certain places in UK, I think Liverpool, there's a street in Liverpool, and if you walk down this street, it said that some people have walked back. It's like a time slip.
That's not deja vu.
Oh no, that's time slip. Okay, that's completely different.
Still interesting. I'm interested though, Lindsay.
Yeah, it's like a time slip that they go into. It's like you're walking down road, and then all of a sudden you look round, and you're wearing. You're like out of luck, aren't you? Because everybody around you is wearing whatever era,
like Victorian era, or
top hat and tails, or all these nice ladies in. But then in a split second, you blink again and you're back on the street. But there's been so many reportings of this street in Liverpool. Also in France, there's been some reportings in France as well of similar things happening when they've gone into like a bistro. They've actually sat and had a meal. They've come out, and then as they've turned around, this place is all boarded up and everything, but yet they was in there actually having a meal. But when they've come out and looked back, it's all boarded up. And it's been closed in such and such a time.
So actually, if anyone wants to look it up, it's called Bold Street.
Bold Street, it's called in Liverpool, isn't it? But it's so interesting that now is that the mind slipping? Is it an actual time slip back? Is it are our energies merging at that point with stronger energies on a different plane.
I can't remember who it was now, but there were somebody that said that all times are happening at the same time, but in different dimensions or different frequencies, whatever. So it could
really, it just interests me so much that. Shelley's put, she does have a very strong gut feeling or intuition. I've always gone with it and trusted it. Gillian's put, when she was 18, she had the same dream every night for a month that my partner at the time was seeing someone else. All I could see was a girl with long blonde hair but no face. Then I saw him one morning coming out the back of his flat with a girl with long blonde hair. They saw me, they just got in the car and drove off. Again, to me, that's a strong, I think that's when you've got a strong connection to what energy is that? Would that be connected to? Do you know if like Gillian's had that dream?
Yes.
She's got a strong connection. Is that to her own intuition, or is that blending of somebody's energies?
It could be to intuition. It could be that she's generally picking up on something spiritual there, a realm that we can't see, because there's radio and television signal waves all around us at the moment, but we can't see them, and maybe she's able to tap into that. It could also be because conscious mind, which I've said before, takes in between 5 and 9 bits of information at any one time. That's why it's called the magic 7 plus or minus 2, because otherwise it would drive you crazy. You'd be thinking, I've got to get my heart working, I've got to get my breathing going, and you just couldn't do it. It would be too much to think about. Whereas subconsciously, you can just, everything is just flowing at one point, and perhaps she was picking up on just maybe little subtle signals that will be given away that consciously she was unaware of, but subconsciously it was making her think something isn't quite right here. And then in the dream state, it was playing itself out, because that's what I think scientists think we dream, is because we're unraveling what we've been through the day, what we've been through the week.
So like you said, she could have been so she's picking up like signs, little changes into it that come into play, and then when your brain starts putting it together. Andy's put, this is Andy and Becky from Elemental Encounters. We do want to get you guys on as well, because these are our family of Fae. Absolutely love these two. I personally think deja vu is us tapping into Andy, the Akashic record, just like mediums do. Sometimes it's
everything. So sometimes everything is written, no matter
what the variable is past, and the formality of what
of it when it happens. You ain't got a clue what that means, have you?
Yeah, I think it's everything that's written, everything that's ever happened, everything that's going to happen is already in the Akashic field. What is really interesting is how many times that we can use the Akashic fields as well for inventions. Nikola Tesla, who was probably one of the greatest inventors ever. He was the person that invented the alternating current. Otherwise, if we had it Edison's way, every basic town and every street would need to have a great big generator to just push the electricity forward, because it would weaken by the time it got to certain areas. But he often claimed that a lot of his ideas came from another realm, so that the thought is that he would be able to put himself in a meditative state, maybe hypnotic state, and tap into the Akashic fields to get this wonderful information. And it's amazing how many times scientists and inventors come up with the same invention in completely different countries, even though they haven't known each other, but at the same time, give or take, a couple of months, they're literally coming up with exactly the same idea. Patents are being put in exactly the same time as other inventors, and people think that that's possibly because at that moment they're tapping into that field, and it's almost like this field, whatever it's controlled by or whether it's us tapping, but it's like certain information is coming to us at the right evolutionary time for our development.
That's just blown my mind.
What she means is she don't understand a word they said.
No, I'm just listening. It'll sink in. I'll listen. It does sink in. It just takes my brain a minute to catch up. I keep getting lost. But yeah, I have a strong connection with Rachel. Do you, Johnny?
Doesn't know from a previous life.
Pardon?
Because he knows.
Because yeah, but he's put smiley faces afterwards.
He wishes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just think brain's a fascinating thing on how it all works. How mine works, I have no clue. I don't even know mechanics in mine. Put your head in a freezer for 10 minutes, Lindsay. It helps. Now, I would do that normally.
I just clean freezer out.
Oh, dear. But yeah, any more questions? Evening, Joanne. Hope you're well, my lovely. Do you? Oh, let me get that one on screen. Hey, Tony. Hope you're well. Evening, everybody joining. Do you think that we choose before we are reborn who we will be, male or female? See, I always got told it's dads that choose sex at baby, but I wonder if we actually do have a choice.
Well, yeah, but that's only like a vessel, isn't it? It's like you don't build car that you drive.
Yeah, but what happens if I don't want to come back as a male and I want?
Then your soul don't go into that vessel.
I'm not sure about the different sex, but I know that you hear children that claim the spontaneous past lives. They talk about choosing their mother as they're looking down, and that they often say I chose you. The fascinating programs like the Ghost of In My Child. So if they can choose who they go to, then I think it's a possibility, that they choose which sex they go into. But then also like John, it could be I get that car this time.
Well, no, Lindsay was saying like if two parents have like a girl and you don't want to be a girl, then it's like a car, isn't it? If you don't want an orange car, you don't get an orange car.
That's what I'm saying. My energy might be able to go in and change it. If I decide that, if you say you're telling me I'm a boy.
Probably your energy could, darling. Your energy could probably do anything. Because you kick off so you got your own way anyway.
Oh, dear. Are repetitive dreams a message that we haven't fully understood? I would say yes.
I would say absolutely yes. It's just, I think you can get dream interpretations books, which I do find really good. And I think the best person that I know personally that is said about dreams is Lynn. She said a couple of things that I dreamt, and it's like, oh, that's really interesting, and that explains an awful lot. But yeah, I think that I get repetitive dreams, and funny enough, a friend of mine does, and I'm at college or somewhere, and I haven't quite handed in paperwork that is really important. It's like just days to go, and I think there's no way I can finish this off, and that's quite a recurring one. As confident as I feel and all the work I've done on myself, there's something in there in the subconscious. So I think that you can get the books, and I recommend going to Lynn, but I think that is what does it mean for us, and really look into it and ask what it means for us. I had a little tiny dream book, and so I remember I went on one of my NLP practitioner days that they set up. Just when you're new to NLP, you can meet up with other practitioners, you practice different techniques, and it's a way of it going more and more into your subconscious mind and conscious mind. And we were talking about dreams, and he said, whatever you do, don't look up if you have a firework dream. It's absolutely horrendous. Do not look it up. That night I had a firework dream, and I thought I'm going to look it up, but it was like you like showing off or something like that. So it was a different interpretation from somebody who wrote one book to what somebody else wrote. So I think we don't give ourselves enough credit sometimes that we can piece a lot of these things together, and I think we can if we just sat down with it.
Shirley, I've not really heard of Akashic Field before. Need to read up on this. If
Shirley wants to know something quite good, which explains the Akashic field very simply. If she goes on to the station Blaze, on Catch Up Blaze, there's a program which I enjoy watching. It's called Ancient Aliens. I know it talks about aliens and different technology. They did a program which was all about the Akashic field and the Akashic records. It wasn't that long ago. I think it was last Thursday it was on, so it should still be on. If you tap it in, it should be, and I think it does actually say Akashic field, Akashic records or something like that. So that's a good hour, 45 minutes taken out the adverts of where it will give you the basics of the Akashic records. And I enjoyed it, and I'm sure it was Shirley, wasn't it? We'll find that very fascinating. So that's
she will.
Go to Blaze. Go to Blaze and go on the Catch Up TV, Ancient Aliens.
Marvelous. And I've had an interesting theory on this lately, like the spiritual conceive echoes the physical. Basically, millions of souls all go for the fetus at the same time, just like the sperm goes for the egg. The strong wins. Do you know? You wouldn't let me read that out loud.
That's right. But no, it's pretty possible.
But
yeah,
it is interesting. It's still like the spiritual conceive echoes the physical. Yeah.
Like eBay, you have to bid on them.
Exactly.
Yes.
If we choose, is it true? Oh, this one, I'll put this one up, and then Bewitched for our Yolandas up after. Is it true when you are reborn, you are sent back to learn a lesson you never did in your last life?
Yes, that's whether it's you're sent back because you don't learn it, or whether you've got stuck memories from that time. But there's soul contracts, and some work that I do with people is going back to the first time something happened and that you haven't maybe learnt from, and getting them to rewrite that soul contract. And I kind of do the standard past life regression with people to begin with, and then the moments in their life that they wish to change that contract that they created for themselves, I will do something called, it's like timeline, but it's kind of slightly adapted differently for being in past life regression that I just kind of came up with, and it seems to work quite well. But then you get the person then with resources they know they would have needed in that certain time to replay the time differently, and then by doing that, it's then got this in the memory of it happening in a slightly different way than it generally did. So I record it so you get what potentially did probably happen in a past life, and then what you would have liked to have happened to help break that contract. And you really do say to somebody, are you happy to break this contract now? I haven't met anybody that isn't, but in NLP you're always looking at the way people interact, the way they talk with you. If it's like yes, you know that they are when they say it in hypnosis. If it's kind of like yeah, you know that even though they say yes, there's some work that you need to do. And it could be later on that something happened in this life they're living now where they can't forgive themselves for something, so that they think they should hold on to what happened in the past. So then you have to work with both times then to get to the solution, the resolution that you wish to have.
Yolanda's just put to that back one. If we choose our sexuality, does something get
confused? Thinking of people who aren't happy with sexuality.
Thinking of people
that
was just a genetic.
Well, no, because it could be that you say in your soul agreement or your soul contract, whatever, you're coming back as a male. It might have been a female in a past life. If they come back too soon, or the soul's not, there's something, then they come back and that soul still got a female energy to it. Then it's like a female inside a male's body, and you know what I mean. And that could be where I don't know.
I mean, there's no answers, is there really?
We never know.
No.
100%.
It's a good theory. Evening, everybody that's new joining us. Don't forget to drop a like, a share, a follow on both pages. We will be giving polls. Well, polls has been given out in chat as well. Joanne Brown, what about the type of dreams where someone dreams that they are falling and they believe that if they actually do reach the ground before they wake up, it indicates that they are really going to die? From what I've heard about these dreams, Joanne, nobody actually hits bottom, because again, it's something to do with what's going off in your life at that moment. But I don't know. But
Don't know.
for me personally.
Yeah, and I've had those dreams where I've just tripped before. It's not falling down the ground. I guess if you did hit the ground and it's true and the person died from it, they're not going to really be able to come back and tell us after.
Tell you, yeah.
No, but I've had those dreams where you've tripped and you suddenly, your muscles kind of just jerk. And that's because, I think it's when you go into sleep, your muscles suddenly sort of relax and go, so you don't act out your dreams, although some people do end up acting out their dreams. And it's just your muscles relaxing all of a sudden like that kind of gives you that jump, when you're falling.
Yeah, I've done that. I've woke up.
I don't know if you're falling, but I know you think you're falling every night.
He thinks I'm a fish because I just lay all night and I twitch. When I'm starting to fall asleep, my entire body starts twitching. But then when it does a proper twitch, it's like electric shock's just gone through my body. It's like all my body does a proper... I wake myself up with it. But normally I've got my hand like this and I'll be falling asleep and he'll be nodding. Next minute I'll start falling asleep and he'll start feeling that. And the next minute it's like full slapping face and it's not my fault.
It's your fault. I'm sure you just say
not
it.
my fault.
Well,
Joanne, go on, Paul.
I was going to say, I've always been fascinated with dreams, and if there's any programs on TV that are about dreams and sleeping, I always try and tune into them.
Yeah.
I remember seeing this one program where a guy, he just would keep swinging his right leg whilst he was in bed. It was just saying unconscious when you go into sleep. It was just swinging. The people who did the program put the sound of a metronome ticking away as his leg was going backwards and forwards, so didn't really help him there, did it? But it's just curious to the bizarre things that people do, but absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I do. Emma's she twitches loads when she's in bed too. To be fair, I do it through. I do, but I think I think it's to do with your nerves.
One thing you have started doing a lot lately is talking in your sleep.
Yeah,
you used to do it occasionally. But it's like every night.
I've missed what Keith put first, but he's asked a question about sleep paralysis.
I think he suffers from...
Oh, you suffer from sleep paralysis.
I think that's what he said. I'm sure I said something about...
Do you know anything about that, Paul, about sleep paralysis? Or?
I don't, but it'd be something that I would be happy to work with somebody. I would have a good chat to them, how it affects their daily life and that. Sleep apnea can be all sorts of different things that you can do. I mean, there's certain things you can put on your nose. Some people, it's that bad they need to wear a mask at night. Other people, it could be just losing a bit of weight will help with the sleep apnea because they're kind of snoring and stuff like that. But people that do have sleep apnea, it makes them so tired throughout the day, so drained. And I remember seeing a program about somebody who had sleep apnea, and they would just be sort of watching the TV, hardly keep their eyes open. The next thing they know is they'll throw their coffee all over themselves, where they just would like falling asleep and then suddenly jerk. So I think when it's sleep apnea, I think it can certainly help with hypnosis, but certain diet things might help. It could be that they might have a slight allergy to like dairy products or certain things that make them clog up at night, and so it's not just one tool will fix all. But if anyone has sleep apnea, I'd be happy to see through hypnosis. But also as well, I always do agree that working with diet is also really useful and very beneficial too.
Oh wow, Sam. Sam's saying, interesting you mentioned gender as in other cultures. Us in the transgender community do call two spirited people, which is exactly what. Wow. we're jumping questions here, aren't we? I'm jumping back and forth. If the theory is right, then the idea is wonderful. Must have missed a question. But yeah, sleep. I think a lot of people suffer with sleep apnea at the minute.
I'll tell you what people are
you're right,
noticing at the moment, and I heard this on radio the other day, and I found it really absolutely fascinating, is that during this whole lockdown period, the people that haven't been going to work, the people that have been either working from home or furloughed at home, that memory has been not as good. And one of the reasons that has not been so good is because if you walk or you drive or you take the bus to work or however you get to work, you're seeing certain things on your route, and you can like see, oh, when I get to work, I'll tell them about this. Because you've seen something happen on your route, you have a place for it rather than just being your home. So that helps with memory. When you talked about it with people at work, it reinforces it into your memory. Whereas if you've got to wait a whole day to maybe chat to a friend, a loved one, a family member on the telephone or Skype or whatever they use at night, they've got all that time to wait. And, you know, it's good to just say things several times, because people aren't saying things several times to groups of different people whilst they're at work. Memory has been noticeably dropping recently.
Yeah. Wow. I had a bad experience of a flickerbook dream. Have you heard of this? I've not heard of a flickerbook dream.
I have not heard of flickerbook dream, Tina, but I am absolutely fascinated. So
do you know
please let us know more.
Yeah, Tina, if you know if you know a bit about it, if you want to put it into chat, my lovely. Have you ever had anyone panic under regression while they was in their past life? You're too relaxed to panic.
Certain times, but I always say to people when they're in regression, if anything becomes uncomfortable, all you'll need to do is open your eyes. People that might not be having a good experience and stay in hypnosis is because they believe that I've got full control over them and they won't be able to open their eyes, and that belief ends up making that happen, a little bit like with last week with the hands.
With the hand, that was right. Good,
suggestibility test, that the same things happen. But so people can open their eyes, and I say that to everybody right at the beginning. At any point you can open your eyes. Also as well is that I always make sure that I find a good memory, and most people have a good memory, even if it's not a most pleasant life. There'll be a little moment where something's nice, and that's one of the first questions that I'll ask. And then, you know, if anything gets upsetting or painful and you can see the tears coming, and that I can then just click my fingers and take them back to that really happy time, then I'll ask them if they're happy to continue, because some people do want to know, and even though they feel the emotion, they still want to go through and experience it. Other times people say, no, I don't want to experience it. So it if it's for therapy, if it's to get over a phobia, a little bit of discomfort helps to get over it, because then they realize it happened in a previous life. But if it's for interest's sake, then I want people to be fully happy. And I want people to be fully happy. And there's nobody ever left a session and say that was horrendous. I'm not ever wanting to do that again. Everybody
I wanted to go back home now. I could have took your place. But yeah, it is. It's such a relaxing feeling when you do come out of any kind of hypnosis, whether it's to do with past life or whether it's to do with dealing with a phobia, like Paul says. Whatever it is you're dealing with, you always seem to come out of it feeling very relaxed and very grounded. I often have a dream within a dream where you think you are awake but not. Then something in the dream actually makes you wake up. I have them dreams.
I've had dreams where you think you're asleep dreaming, then you think you wake up and you think you're awake, and then like you wake up again and you're like, hold on a minute, what's going off here?
I think that's like what Philip's put. Yeah, I have dreams, then it actually happens in real life and remember it from the dream. Is that what you
That's
just said?
interesting. Be interesting to know, Philip, for a couple of examples. Definitely.
Yeah, Philip, if you've got any examples, pop them into chat. Sam's put
looking at the bookshelf in the background.
At the shelf of books reminds me of the lines of books I had, which made me look smart, but I actually didn't read much. Sam,
he's looking at,
he's looking at Paul's. Trust me, Paul's read all them books.
Well, there's a thing that you have to be careful of doing self-development and not shelf development. So to be honest, I think the best thing you can do is have just a couple of books that you absolutely love and you completely resonate with you, and just read it over and over and over again, and then go back to beginning. So it's well battered, it's well worn, but really driving the information into the subconscious mind is good. You might see these little things behind me. There's before I forget, my past life regression CDs that I went to Berry Hill Studios to record. So if anybody wants them, they're £5 plus postage and packaging. I've got MP3 versions. Do message me, please.
Fantastic. Yeah, please message Paul. There's no pictures in the books. Oh, Sam, there's no pictures. The saddest dream, Joanne's put, the saddest dreams are when you dream about past family members and they are alive in your dream. It's horrible when you wake up and they aren't really there. Just on that one, I would say try and wake up more with a positive feeling.
I agree with that. When you dream about past family members, I think you're meeting your loved ones who has crossed over in your dreams.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You're not just dreaming about them, you're actually meeting them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say to Joanne. That's how I tend to look at it when I'm dreaming.
For me, I take that as a positive, that it's got some extra time with you.
Yeah. What about you, Paul?
Well, I was just going to say, Joanne is a saying in NLP called reframing. So you look at stuff with a different frame. And when they come out is to think the words, thank you for allowing me to meet them again. So instead of thinking it was only a dream, whether it was your brain coming up, but a very realistic memory of what happened with you, or whether they are going and seeing them in spirit, but to have that opportunity again and start thinking of the gratitude of being able to see them
again. A positive in it.
I think a lot of time though, because when there's a loss of family members or friends, there's a lot of sadness around that. And I think if you haven't come to terms with your grief by seeing members coming family in your dreams, I think when you would wake up, you'd have that unemotional
How come you
balance.
always get credit for everything?
I just said it. No, but what I'm saying is,
I said it, then Paul said it, then you said it last, and then you get credit for it.
No, she's not on about that. She's on about something I said earlier. Don't forget this delay on this one.
Tell me how.
John and Lindsay, can you ask Paul about my fear that I used to be horrible to
Bewitched has got this fear that in this life she's fanatic about animal cruelty and obviously defending animals, and she like she said she it really angers at any animals. But the fear she's got is she like that because in a past life she was an animal abuser?
It's that would be for myself and Bewitched to explore. Maybe it could be, but it could also be that it is that in a past life she just saw it and realized it was bad. It could have been that something happened in this life which made her realize how horrible animal cruelty is. But I'd also say to stop yourself from getting upset about it, because I don't like seeing animal cruelty either. I'm a very soft person. But is to think, what can you do rather than what can't you do? So is to really focus on charities that help out with cruelty to animals, and if you can't afford to give, just sort of a way of promoting them, looking up positive stories about people rescuing animals rather than being it doesn't mean it's going to go away, but you start changing your focus on what people can do for it, and just see how many hundreds and hundreds of animals are being rescued rather than the ones that unfortunately aren't.
Yeah, I think as well, a lot of it is, I've covered all his faces now. I think a lot of it is as well with animal cruelty, especially on social media. Every other post, on somebody's post, they're putting stuff on about animal, and I know they're doing it to stop playing peekaboo. I know they're doing it to make the awareness of it, but I think some of them images are so graphic that even to that people aren't animal lovers, it's horrendous to see these popping up on you. Do you know?
Yeah,
so you're constantly reminded of it as well with society as it is. Do you know? Philip's answered you, Paul.
Brilliant. Thank you. What's he pops his head? Thank you, Philip.
Susanna's put a question up. Don't get Susanna's. Do you believe in soul friends? Ooh.
Yes, I would like to experience it more, Susanna. I have had people that have phoned me saying, I got a feeling that me and my friend have been connected before. I would suggest that you book different times to come, because if you're both sat in the room together, you hear the one, you don't want that they've been influenced by the other person. So if you're happy to come at different times. But I often find that there's one friend who's slightly more into it than the other, so only the one would turn up and the other one wasn't. Some people, when I've had this, have felt there's been a connection to a past life, and some other times they don't, to their surprise as well. So it can be and it can't be. But I think that, you know, people have connections throughout, and if your friends in this life, I can't see.
Not be the same person, but it could be a similar connection you had with somebody else.
See, I was going to say, I wonder whether you could have been twins with somebody or triplets in a past life, and then obviously when you come back to this life, you're born as a one. Do you know? You just but then,
do you know what's the scariest thought ever? Though it's scarier than anything in paranormal demons. Oh, that once in a past life you came out as twins.
That's where my doppelganger comes in.
That's right.
No, but yeah, I think that's how I'd look at that one. That if you've got that strong soul connection, could you have been twins in a previous life? And especially if it's on a friend's level. Obviously, if it's on a partner level, then it won't be incest as such. But if you went back for a past life regression, it might be.
Well, you do hear of mothers. I haven't come across it myself, but you do hear of mothers then being the son in another life where they swapped over. But I think you've got to think of it as a spiritual, not a human connection then, and it's two very, very different things.
Yeah. Steve's partially interesting. I have a friend who I met online. I have never met him in person, yet we have both said it feels like we have known each other forever, and are close enough as friends to be brothers, or so to speak. So yeah, it could possibly be that it was a sibling of some sort, or a relative. What are you looking at me like that for?
No, I'm not.
I'm going to punch him in a minute on camera. But yeah, I think it is an intriguing.
I was going to say, because I feel like I've known you forever.
Anybody who meets me think they've known me forever. I'm like one of them bad things that don't go away. You'd hear me laughing over a room. Yolanda's put, I believe we're born in the same circles, which is why. Oh, where's she gone?
Got a ghost.
No. Believe we're born in the same circles, which is why I can't immediately like or dislike a person before they said more than hello. But again, could that be that's your energy, that though? Surely that's your energy connecting with somebody else's energy. So again, could it be somebody related to something in your past life? Could it just be that you got a strong empathic connection to energies. Do you know, there's
such a lot of explanations.
So many, isn't there, that you can grasp to pull around it. But I think
absolutely,
it's just go with one that you feel comfortable.
Yeah, and do stick with gut feeling. I think that if it's saving you from certain unpleasantness, then I would, do trust your gut feeling, definitely.
Yeah, I always trust your gut feeling, because I think that's just one thing that'll never let you down. Look at that.
I must have been really bad if 7 years of a life sentence.
Oh dear.
That's right. Anything over 7 years is a life sentence. I must have got a life sentence then.
You've got extra. You're doing full life sentence. I'm just waiting to collect the pension. Wonder. Not pension, is it? It's life insurance. Wonder what me and partner Paul were in a past life, as we are soulmates, but 22 years age difference. Was I a cougar back then?
Because even though 22 years between you in this life doesn't mean there'll be any age difference between you in a previous life.
Previous one, yeah.
No.
It just means that, again, is it to do with the soul contract that Paul chose to stay back a little bit?
Well, no, because it could be, or it could be. Say you have to wait 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Before you, so just for an example, so you have to wait 10 years before your spirit can come back.
She's an eager beaver and just wanted to get out.
No, in the previous life, Jean could have passed 30 years, 32 years before Paul. So, 22 years, whatever. So, you know what I mean? There's then 32.
That gap, I know what you're saying.
I don't know. I know what I mean.
Jim Tucker, who worked with Dr. Ian Stevenson, who together they went around the world investigating children's spontaneous past life claims. Jim Tucker said the average time between the death of somebody and being reborn was around 18 months. Now, I wouldn't sort of start worrying people thinking, oh my God, it's not long before you come back. It's a little bit like when you work out the average wage packet of people living in the UK. You know, it's going to be a wide, but that's what he found the average was anyway, about 18 months.
Yeah. Is it true that before we are reborn, we choose the date we will die and how we will die?
Well, I presume if you believe in Akashic records.
So that goes on Akashic records. Then
everything's already written, isn't it?
Yeah, I've not. Nobody's ever
choose his own destinies. Sorry, Paul.
I always like to think that we have free choice now. If you think that everything's all down, then it's kind of like depressing thought, really. But I know that nobody who's sat in the hypnosis chair having a past life regression has ever come up with anything like we choose the date that we die. It doesn't mean that we do or we don't, but it's not known for people. But I haven't really asked that question. Have you chosen to be chosen?
I don't think we can, because I think every lifetime we live is lived differently, depending on what we do come back as. I mean, we couldn't come back as birds, dogs, cats, but whatever. Do you know what I mean?
You're here for a reason, a purpose, or a lesson. I think once that reason, purpose, or lesson's done, then your life would end anyway.
I don't know. When I lost my dad at a young age, I always said, and it's a hard lesson, but with my dad dying at the age he did at 31 and me being 8, there was a lesson for me to learn in all that, I think. I don't know what that lesson, I still don't know what that lesson is today, but there's a lesson that there's got to be a lesson in there.
But I will dare with my PS4 controller in my hands stiff at last. Look on the positive, it could be PS5.
I mean, so I was just going to say, I think you can always find a lesson, whether you think it's a lesson given to you, but I think you can always, without putting rose-tinted spectacle lenses on, you can always find that silver lining.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for my dad getting cancer and passing away, I wouldn't have started it reasonably early to be interested in the mind. I wouldn't be interested in the things he was doing that could potentially help heal himself. And so that's something that it's given me from that terrible, terrible time. If I could go back and still had a choice, he would live or he wouldn't be doing this, I would still choose him to live, definitely. But, it's that life is bittersweet. It's amazing and it's horrible at the same time. It's a rich tapestry.
Yeah. But like I said, there's always within every negative, there's always a positive. It's just that I think people focus so much on the negative that they don't look at the positive that they've just got away.
So when it comes to loss, you don't. You can't look at the positives at that time.
No, you can't. No. But what I'm saying, once you've gone through the stages of grief, for me, my blessing is if my dad had been here, there's no way I would have had kids because he'd have put a belt on me and everything. I'd have been chained up in back garden. No way could I have had my kid. Would have had kids young. And I had my kids quite young. I had Jordan at 17, Ashley at 19. Do you know what I mean? So I got them out of life from my dad.
I suppose it could be a positive because if you ever passed away, at least I could get a word in there.
Never. I'd come back and talk all your EVPs. Mandy says, do you believe someone's soul can pass over before their body dies?
I believe it. I don't know if that's true or not, but I believe, it can certainly be that. I mean, I think sometimes souls can move on for a short time and then go back into the body because you do hear of crisis ghosts. I know Richard Felix talks about it a lot, where people are in a battlefield and it looks like they're going to die, and family members see them, but then they survive after it. Yeah. So, when people have out-of-body experiences, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the soul leaving the body for a short period.
I've read one where a guy was having an operation, and he actually died during this operation. But before he died, he could see. When he woke up, he said that he was like above himself watching, and he could actually tell him what equipment and what colour the equipment was he was using on him, and he wouldn't have known that because he was obviously unconscious, and the equipment was kept in that room, and they got something. It weren't a chainsaw, but it were like that. It were red, and it were right unusual for this colour, but he knew it would be this colour.
But again,
so that would have been the soul, I would presume, leaving the body before it died, but it's not left. It's like still attached.
But could that be also, though, on switch hand, on a scientist point of view, could a scientist say that when they went into that room before they went under, they saw the red stick on side, they saw they were in white coats. So when they've gone under and they're in that drug-induced state, is that like a dream they're having that they know they're going in for a stomach operation, or they know what operation they're going in for? Do you know what I mean? So that's just on like another
the same guy. Not only did he see.
No, I know
but
that.
Also, in the same story, apparently he was on a 8th floor, right? And it was like the building was like L-shaped, and where the theatre was there. So he went round outside building, and he saw a trainer on a window ledge outside one of windows, and he'd never been in that room, even after he'd never been in that room. Yet he'd seen that, and when they checked, there was a trainer outside on the windowsill. So.
But again, I'm just throwing spanner at work and saying, could they have?
It could. I mean, it could just be a made-up story for all we know. I don't know.
Or the body releases the mind before it finally expires. That's sort of like what you're saying, isn't it? I wonder if it's a sort of test drive. I think it's because you've got to look at all positive possibilities, haven't you? I mean, especially when it's to do with
medium gave a reading to a
paranormal
woman
and stuff.
Medium gave a reading to a woman. The medium was talking to the mother of the woman. At the end of the reading, the woman said, "Her mother is in a coma, not dead."
Yeah.
But medium were talking to mum, so I don't know.
But then, if they are in a coma, you could be on you're in between two planes. So is it possible?
Sam remembers that story.
I know. Yeah, Sam does remember that story.
I think it's truly possible. Yeah.
It's just so weird how I think energy does work. And again, because at the minute there is no science won't work with paranormal. with science, it's got to be black and white because paranormal is an experimental thing. I think it's very hard, but there's just so many different things, isn't there, that you can bring it back into.
Yeah.
And
it's like when I have people that do hypnosis, you know, sometimes it really could be the mind coming up with metaphors to help them with that time, but doesn't mean that every single person it's just a metaphor, and vice versa. You know, sometimes I think it's generally past lives, and other times it could be a metaphor. But it's like when people do ghost hunting, you know, sometimes you hear something, you thought, I've got the most amazing EVP, and then you realise afterwards that's you stepping on a squeaky floorboard that made a noise, and no, your dictaphone recording it sounds like something. So just because it is sometimes doesn't mean it's all the time, and that's the trouble with this field. As you said, it's not like black and white. It's not like it's always paranormal. It's not always paranormal. It's a blurred line in between.
I mean, we've tried that experiment where we've been out, and there's just been me and John doing it. We don't do this, is not what we do on camera, but we've been out on his own, and we've got EVP player, and we've asked questions, and John's moved his foot on the floor.
Well, when you've
now
got
you
one
can
of them,
physically
a waterproof coat on, if you move
we're
your
saying
arm,
we're saying it while we do it recording. John's moving his foot. But when you actually listen back to that foot being moved,
especially if you have your recorder on a low setting, you know,
it
like
sounds
a low
like
quality
a word
setting,
coming through.
It does sound like a word.
But if you don't say what it is and you just let other people say what they say, you notice things coming in different. But if somebody says,
if you say
that says,
it says demon
or get me or whatever,
then when you say listen to this, it says this, and play it,
you can hear it say.
I think it's like you're implanting a thought in somebody's mind, aren't you? So they're actually listening for it and they hear what you've said.
Yeah. So EVPs are so difficult unless they're really either very clear or they picked up over the camera. So it's not an EVP, it's picked up over the live recording. You know, I mean, to be honest, we said we're not EVP experts. I think we've only ever caught about 3 EVPs that we can say there's something there.
I
we
don't
don't
even
know
think
what
they
it
were on
is.
recorder, whether they were on camera.
No, I think there were 3 EVPs where we couldn't say what it actually said, but you could tell it was something different. The others we've picked up have been on the camera itself, where and Sam, who's in chat, he actually did a voice. I don't know if he did the voice thingy over, and Sam messaged me back and he said it's not even John's voice that said the Keeler. It's a complete different voice set that comes in. So it's really weird that you get this, but then it's just so hard to back it up, isn't it? 18 months before you are reborn. Is that because the memory? Where's it gone? I wouldn't. Oh my goodness, these are going.
Sam's put, if recorders are on low settings, natural sounds can sound like voices. Best thing is use the highest quality you can afford.
I always put the highest quality. In fact, until it broke down on me. Well, I opened it up one day and the spring sort of came out. But my favourite was a mini disc recorder with a good microphone plugged in. I used to find that you could put it on mono, so you would double the time, but it would still be really high quality coming out. And I got couple of phenomenal recordings on it, which could not potentially be anything else. I know some people say that if you put the dictaphone on a lower recording, the spirits can use it, but I find it too much of a way of like coat rustles, moving your foot, other things which you could explain being then interpreted. Again, it doesn't mean it is all the time. I'm not an EVP expert, but I prefer high recording, and I think it's good to back it up with the camera so you can look back afterwards, because I thought I got an amazing EVP in Meek's shoe shop, and I thought it sounded like a real gruff voice saying I see you. It gave me goosebumps hearing it. And then I played the video recording of it afterwards, and at the exact point you see somebody walk over floorboards, and you can see how it could be interpreted. But as it was cassette recording back then for that dictaphone recording, the quality just wasn't there, so it did sound like something else.
Yeah, I mean,
Scotty's put the it was Keely when we went
yeah,
once,
it were
and I can't
both on camera but not on recorder. But saying that, both on camera, when you're doing an EVP, probably best way to do is have everybody on camera, so they're all out in front, so you can see everybody's positions and
visuals
everything
and audio
else.
is most important for paranormal captures. I think it is.
Yeah, it is. Susanna says, "Can spirits travel anywhere by thought?" I suppose if they were in a coma.
They could do. Well, you certainly hear, like, I think it's Anne Boleyn is in various different haunted locations.
She gets about a bit, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
She does, yeah. And it doesn't mean that, you know, that it's made up stories, that, you know,
well, then we're coming back to that
right.
stone tape theory.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, because if Anne Boleyn is like in 10 places, then it could be when she, at that time when she was there in her life, that's the stone tape of each encounter.
Yeah.
It's very, very weird. I tell people I used to live in a farmhouse with an old lady and she was lovely. They've told me I've never lived in a farmhouse. Oh, bless, Amelia. Using old tape recorders, a little bit right back up with high quality so you can compare. I think that's always best to do, though, isn't it, Sam? Always having a thing, yeah. Queen Mary is said to be in loads too. Yeah, she is. Queen Mary, Anne Boleyn. I think we've been to quite a few places. Henry VIII gets about a lot as well. Yeah, King George. I think is it King George that comes through quite a few times when we've been places. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to royalty, it is. Oh, Jean. What's Jean put? Absolutely. Oh, Chelsea's talking to somebody in chat. Do you believe in astral travel? I think I've done this. Once I started to be able to fly in my dream, then I was in Malta. So real. I was with my relatives. It was so clear. I could smell the air and could feel the warmth. Wow.
What would be interesting, Jean, is to ask the relatives some questions to see if they I don't know if Jean's relatives live out in Malta, but to ask at that particular day, did they dream about her being with them at all, or did they get like a sense of her or thinking about her during that day? It'd be quite interesting to see.
Or if she dreamt about things happening, like, I don't know, we were on a bus going to a certain place, ask them if they were on a bus going to a certain place on that day, to validate what she dreamt about. But I suppose if it happened 10, 15, 20 years ago,
that have done that, though, aren't there? That said, I mean, I don't know whether I've been watching too many movies here. I'm sure that somebody will tell me if I have. But it's like when they're asleep, but then they wake up like in middle of a field, but all houses locked up and everything else. Have they got a house? But then again, I could be watching too many movies. I don't know, because
the only time I've ever done that is when I had too much to drink and I woke up, but I didn't get rid of it.
No, but I think it's more. I think children can do that, though. I think children. I don't know. It's really weird. Have you ever thought of someone and then they call you? Yeah.
A couple of times that's happened to me, but it's quite common that happens.
I think what's happened to me more is not so much now because you've got caller ID on your phone, but when you used to have basic house phone where you had to dial number, as in like with circle dial thing. When phone used to ring, you'd know it were on phone before you picked it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I subscribe to the fact that we can tap into these things, like I said, about the radio waves, the television signal around. But I know that there are people who are more skeptical about things, saying that you might be thinking about that person throughout the times anyway. And when it happens to correspond with when they phone you up, it's like selective memory. I tend to not go down that and think that we can tap into something more, but then it is interesting to I always find it interesting to look at the other side of a point of view, because it gives you more of a 3D image of all the different things that could be going on. Yeah.
Yes, or just thought of someone you've not seen in a while and then you bump into him. Definitely, that's happened. Mm-hmm. That happens quite a lot. So I've gone too far. How do I get to the bottom of my chat now?
have to just tap the little new comment bit.
I know.
It seems to have changed recently. It used to see it scrolling up before. You seem to have to tap on new comment now.
Tap it all now, don't? Yeah.
It stops every now and again.
Chelsea gets the thing where she knows what songs are coming up on radio next.
I've had that a couple of times at nightclubs where I just think they're going to play this now. So yeah, that's always interesting.
And then it comes
it's always
on.
Yeah, it's always nice to say to somebody who's next to you they're going to play this next, just so that you know that you've thought of it rather than it's. Yeah, I've got it wrong a couple of times as well, mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've done that though. When we're getting in car, we'll mess about singing outside car, and then we get in car, and what's playing on radio or comes up on radio is what we've just been singing in car, and it's like, oh my god.
Yes.
Can you mind read, Paul?
I wish I could. What you can do is in NLP. You do look out for comfort and discomfort. So I'm reading people's signals, and sometimes I get an idea thinking this is the way I should work with the client. But just to give you an example of how people can give signals away unconsciously, you could say, "Are you fine? Are you okay? You good today?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm fine." You can just tell by the body language, the way he delivered it, that something's not right. Another things that people will say is like, most clients do what you say, but occasionally you don't. So have you done the NLP exercises? Yes, yeah, I've done the NLP exercises, and they're shaking their heads, giving themselves away. So I do look at those sorts of things, but just occasionally something will just pop into my mind on ghost hunts, because I have done ghost hunts before. I'm not really a psychic person or anything like that. I tend to pick things up more on the camera, EVPs, a bit of dowsing sometimes. But if I do get something, and it's probably been the same for you, so it might not be, but it's literally been like a flash of something comes into my mind. It's like somebody got like this car and just gone like that, and it will come into my mind that quick. And I've spoken to people who do tap into like more psychic fields and things and go, I was getting that as well. So it's interesting, but it's so quick that you just have to then piece back what you actually saw. But even though it's quick, it stays in your memory really well.
Yeah.
More if you just like a flashcard for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just phenomenal, isn't it, when you think about how brain and everything does. Evening, Justin. Mandy, Nikki's put, she always senses pregnancies. It can always tell when something bad is going to happen.
Hey, Justin.
Again, that's one of your senses, Nick, isn't it? So that's your senses. You can work people out on body language. I'd love to work people out that way. I think you can, if you read into it and look. I mean,
hey, what up?
You can learn that, can't you, Paul?
You can, and I went on and I did it once, and again I could have practiced this an awful lot more, but you have to choose what you practice regularly when you've got like your career. So I've gone down more the hypnosis route, the NLP route, but it's more of a party trick, but a way of reading somebody. And this is something Darren Brown does, and I've seen somebody do it very successfully. He was teaching some of the sort of tricks that Darren Brown does. He would say, I want you to think in your mind a country that you've been to, or a city in a country you've been to, where it was an amazing holiday and you really absolutely loved it. Now I want you to get the picture of what you're seeing of I'll each have it written down. So say like it's I don't know, New York, for example. Just see, and he wouldn't say see New York, but just see the name of where you were written up. And I want you to just really read that. And one of the things that he'll look out for is watching the eyes jump to see how many letters there are, which gives like an indication to for start. Then another thing he sometimes says, now what I want you to do is to just imagine you're screaming it to me really, really loud. Even though you're staying quiet, you're just absolutely screaming that name. So they'd be sort of shouting New York, and you'll be just looking just a little subtle signals like the Adam's apple, going what it could potentially be, and then working it out from that. That's something that I could potentially learn to do if I was spending, like Darren Brown, hours and hours and hours reading people. But there's so many other things I need to do. But that's one way that he gets through of reading people, which is really quite fascinating.
I think he is a fascinating man. Gillian, I'll give you a ring or message you, my lovely. I don't know if you want to put area the area that you're around, Gillian, or put a post on and we'll share it on page, my lovely. She's just said her 17-year-old niece hadn't been seen since yesterday at 5 o'clock.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so we are going to send you lots of prayers and healing. And please keep me informed, my lovely.
Justin's put, I'm interested in past life regression. I've been studying it. You'll have to drop Paul a message and have a chat with him.
Absolutely. I'm hoping next year or later that I'll be able to teach past life regressions as small groups with or larger groups of people. I'd say about 6 to 12 people, nice group of people. So, but if they don't want to wait until I'm doing that, then I can highly recommend 2 people that teach past life regressions that I've had been to their workshops and been very, very good.
Cool. Yeah, drop Paul a message and he can put you in the right direction or whatever, Justin.
Right, I think the US Secret Service is great with reading body language to try stop situations before they happen. Yes. So Paul, I am going to end it here, my lovely.
That's fine.
We will be on again. I think depending on whether I don't know whether we're out tomorrow or at Thursday. We'll let you know whether we're out. I do want to say a big thank you to Paul for coming on. If anybody's interested in NLP or speaking to Paul with phobias or confidence building, stopping smoking, whatever it is, past life regression, please get in touch with Paul. Even if it's just to have a chat, just to before you do book in to have it done, even if it's just to have a chat with Paul, just to put your own mind at ease. Paul's really happy to message you or if you ring, whatever. Paul would really, really look after you all. So but thank you everybody for joining, and we shall see you all tomorrow. I hope you've had a great day. So it's goodbye from Paul.
Goodbye, everyone, and thank you. And if just wanted to say, if with the missing niece, if I know don't really know the person, or don't think I do, but if they wanted me to share it out, if it's going to help at any point, they can get in contact with me.
That's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to message Gillian and get a post out circulated for her. So thank you, Paul.
I'll be wishing her well.
Yeah. Thank you. More, thank you. No worries, Gillian. I shall be in touch in a minute, my lovely. So everybody stay safe. Have a great night. It's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Take
care,
guys.
Goodbye from Paul.
See you tomorrow.
Love you loads.
God bless.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.